We are NTD.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. The new changes to the Education Department were a main topic in today's White House press briefing with the Secretary of Education, who was there to explain more. The Epstein files are set to become public in no later than 30 days. President Trump signs a new law ordering their release. The Trump administration is preparing new bridge payments for farmers, as the Agriculture Secretary says the farm economy is struggling and the National Farmers Union urges immediate assistance. Cartels are increasingly using military tactics, heavy weaponry, improvised explosive devices, and drones, causing bloodshed in both Mexico and the United States. We discuss how cartel operations could directly endanger U.S. communities. New York's new mayor is set to meet with the president for the first time since he was elected. Zohran Mamdani shared his thoughts on the upcoming meeting with reporters today. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers exposed the Chinese Communist Party's attacks on religious freedom and why it poses a threat to Americans.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon. A new jobs report is in. The Labor Department says the economy added 119,000 jobs in September. That exceeds economists' expectations of 50,000, according to FactSet.
However, the pace of hiring remains modest. The unemployment rate rose to 4.4%, above the expected 4.3%. The release of the September jobs report was delayed by over a month due to the 43-day government shutdown, which furloughed staff at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Revisions to prior months show slower growth than initially reported. July's jobs gains were lowered by 7%, by 7,000, while August shifted from a 22,000 gain to a 4,000 loss. Combined employment in those 2 months was 33,000 jobs lower than first reported. Vice President J.D. Vance commented on the jobs report this morning while speaking to Breitbart Washington Bureau Chief Matt Boyle. Take a listen.
Huge jobs report, and I assume the market is going crazy right now. It probably just opened, because what this shows is that the Trump economic policies are actually working. And you've got 119,000 new jobs. Economists thought that we would have about 50,000 new jobs, but that's actually just the headline number. If you look below the surface, I think the numbers are actually better. The best thing that you can say about the Trump economy is that American jobs are going to American workers for a change, and that's the thing that I'm proudest about with these numbers.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics said yesterday it would not be publishing an employment report for October. It will combine non-farm payrolls for that month with November's report. That's because the recently ended government shutdown prevented the collection of data for the household survey. That means October's unemployment rate will never be known. November's employment report will be released in mid-December. That would be after the Federal Reserve's December policy meeting.
The United States is expanding its AI technology footprint in the Middle East, approving the export of tens of thousands of advanced semiconductor chips. Elon Musk and NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang yesterday confirmed the development of a 500 megawatt data center in Saudi Arabia.
So yeah, we're doing a XAI, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are doing a
You mean 500 megawatts, yeah, starting with 50 megawatts phase one, and we're doing it with NVIDIA.
We're also working in Saudi Arabia to build supercomputers to simulate quantum computers, and using our computers to be the controller and the error correction, quantum error correction, requires an enormous amount of computation, and so we're doing a lot of great work there too.
The Department of Commerce says it has authorized exporting of the equivalent of 35,000 NVIDIA Blackwell AI chips to companies in Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Those chips will go to the state-run G42 in Abu Dhabi and Humane in Saudi Arabia. Both companies planning major data center expansions. Humane says it intends to buy hundreds of thousands more AI chips as it builds a 500-megawatt facility alongside Elon Musk's xAI. And in the UAE, G42 is planning one of the world's largest data center hubs, built with U.S. and international tech partners. The Trump administration plans to outline details of payments to farmers soon. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said the farm economy is really struggling right now, speaking on News Nation.
Part of that is because of the China refusing to buy soybeans during the trade renegotiations. Of course, that is now opened back up. When China, one country, buys about 65% of your soybean crop, you're sort of putting your own farmers at the, in a bad place if something were to happen.
Under the trade agreement, China committed to buy 12 million metric tons of soybeans from the United States before the end of 2025, and at least 25 million metric tons per year in the next 3 years. Rollins said the department will soon be announcing a potential bridge payment for those still facing losses. The National Farmers Union urged Trump last month to issue payments to struggling farmers. It said they were facing severe economic challenges and a deepening crisis if they did not receive immediate assistance. Now, an update on the Epstein files. President Trump has signed it into a bill, signed into law the bill, and this is to release the documents surrounding the deceased sex offender. The Epstein Files Transparency Act orders the Department of Justice to release all unclassified records or documents tied to Epstein in a searchable and downloadable format. The release must come no later than 30 days following the bill's enactment. The measure prohibits the Justice Department from withholding or redacting records for political reasons or to protect someone's reputation. After signing the bill, Trump wrote on Truth Social, quote, "Jeffrey Epstein was a lifelong Democrat, donated thousands of dollars to Democrat politicians, and was deeply associated with many well-known Democrat figures." Meanwhile, Harvard President Larry Summers is taking leave from the university and has resigned from the OpenAI board. This follows newly released emails showing he stayed in contact with Epstein years after his conviction in 2008. Lawmakers are under the microscope for allowing a provision to sneak into the government funding bill that could enrich some senators for alleged DOJ misconduct. NTD's Melina Weisskopf breaks down what this means.
Republican Senator Chuck Grassley uncovered last month that while former special counsel Jack Smith was investigating Republicans' response to the 2020 election, he allegedly secretly searched the phones of 10 Republican senators. Why this relates to the recently passed government funding bill? Well, senators, when they crafted this government funding bill, someone, we don't know who at this point, put in a provision that would allow senators to sue the government for $500,000 for allegedly improperly searching their phones. So after it was brought to light that this new provision would allow senators to profit from this on the backs of U.S. taxpayers, the House moved to overturn it. It was a unanimous vote in the House, many expressing outrage that they weren't made aware of this new piece when the Senate sent the bill back to them for their final approval. Now the Senate needs to take it up, but it's unclear if it will pass at this point. Senate Majority Leader John Thune previously defended the new provision, saying it will strengthen government accountability.
We strengthen that provision when it comes to allowing a federal government agency, the Justice Department in this case, to collect information, private information on individual senators. We think that's a violation of separation of powers under the Constitution. Obviously, Jack Smith violated the law in the way he went about that. This is something that needed to be addressed.
Many senators whose phones were allegedly secretly searched have said they would sue the government, but some have said they wouldn't take monetary damages, except for Senator Lindsey Graham.
Oh, it's far more than that. Why do you pick? You want to make sure that people who are going to issue subpoenas in the future against private citizens to get their phone records without a court order, without a warrant, have to think twice. And if the government doesn't pay, you're going to get more of this. So the only way you're going to prevent this in the future is for somebody to be held liable and the government pay.
With this revision out of the House and now laying on the desk of the Senate leader, we'll have to wait and see how Republican senators handle it. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
New changes to the Department of Education were a focus at today's White House briefing. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was joined by Secretary of Education Linda McMahon to address the issue.
When Americans hear that we are shutting down the department, but given no other details, 51% oppose it. But when those same Americans are informed of our plans to preserve important elements of our work in other federal agencies and to maintain the K-12 funding that is distributed to the states, that number flips to an even greater majority at 56%. And they support returning education to the states and breaking up the bureaucracy.
Secretary McMahon described this as a hard reset of the education system. She noted this was the administration's most decisive step yet toward delivering on President Trump's campaign promise to send education back to the states. McMahon explained that the Education Department has partnered with other federal agencies to delegate programs that are redundant. She said education authority is being shifted to states, local superintendents, and local school boards. McMahon and Leavitt both noted that the historic government shutdown partially led to the move.
During the longest shutdown in history, the Department of Education furloughed 90% of its staff, and America's education system was not impacted whatsoever. Schools stayed fully open across the country. Students attended class and received normal in-person instruction, and our wonderful teachers received their paychecks uninterrupted. The Democrats' government shutdown made it painfully obvious that American families do not need the Department of Education.
Leavitt also talked about the September jobs report, which showed the U.S. economy added 119,000 jobs. And she said inflation remains under control and wages are up by nearly 4% over the year. And looking ahead to the Thanksgiving holiday, she said Americans traveling can expect to see gas prices at the cheapest price since the pandemic. And when shopping for a turkey, she said prices for a 16-pound frozen turkey is down more than 16% from last year. Mexico's president ruled out allowing U.S. strikes on cartels within Mexico's borders. Joining us to discuss is Taylor Hathorn, visiting fellow at the Independent Women's Forum Center for American Safety and Security. So Taylor, good afternoon. Good to see you again. Now, U.S. officials are saying cartels pose a threat to national security, and President Trump said he's okay with military strikes inside Mexico. But it looks like Mexican President Sheinbaum says she's not accepting any intervention by a foreign government. So firstly, I want to ask you, what do you make of Mexico's resistance to U.S. strikes on cartels, which, are killing both Mexican and American citizens?
Well, it's painfully obvious that the cartel situation and the fentanyl crisis that Mexico is involved in is really embarrassing for Mexico. And it is harmful for the United States and it's harmful for Mexico. So it doesn't surprise me that the Mexican president doesn't want the United States coming in and fixing their mess and having Donald Trump fix their mess that they've created.
So if the U.S. were to have some kind of involvement, what would you want to see in terms of the U.S. taking down these cartels?
I think what every American needs to ask themselves is if this was ISIS or Al-Qaeda killing tens of thousands of Americans every year, how would we expect our administration and our leadership to engage with this and engage with these cartels? There's a reason that the president and Secretary Rubio designated these these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations back in February. Now we do have diplomatic relations with Mexico in ways that we don't with other foreign terrorist organizations, but Mexico is doing a little bit to curtail this cartel problem, but they're really not doing enough. And President Trump is having a really serious look at what this means for the United States.
So you said the U.S. is not doing enough. Can you then comment on why these cartels are such a threat to U.S. national security? They have a degree of control over Mexican law enforcement, right? Politics as well, businesses, and significant financial influence over governments as well. So just comment on that.
Well, 90% of the fentanyl that comes to the United States comes through the southern border. And so the drug crisis alone is bad enough. But we've also got the disastrous immigration that has happened over the last 4 years under the Biden administration that is finally being cleaned up. And so you see the tentacles of the cartel in every single one of these areas, and these policies have been disastrous. These consequences have been disastrous to Americans. And now the Trump administration is working diligently to clean it up. The Mexican president has sent 10,000 Mexican National Guard troops to their border. They recently gave us custody of 55 drug traffickers in Mexico to the United States. So some things are being done, but it really isn't enough. I mean, it doesn't equate to the damages that have been incurred against Americans. And many Americans don't know, but we send $100+ million a year through either the UN and through Mexico itself to help curtail this. So American taxpayers are paying for these drugs essentially to come in through these borders because Mexico isn't doing enough with the money and the resources that we're giving them. So the cartel, both the Sinaloan and the Jalisco cartels, are extremely dangerous. They're working with China to get precursor chemicals for fentanyl shipped into Mexico so that the production can be done in Mexico and sent. Those drugs can be sent to the United States. So there are just so many levels of this that are harmful for Americans, and Americans need to be made aware of just how bad it is.
So then, can you go a bit deeper into that? You're saying that Americans need to be more aware of this. Can you paint us a picture here so that everyone is aware of the severity of the situation? What kind of dangers do these cartels pose?
So prior to 2019, China was actually the biggest trafficker of fentanyl into the United States, and now Mexico passed that. And that is because China really cracked down on the exporting of actual fentanyl and classified those drugs so that there could be more regulation on that. But what they haven't been able to crack down on, or in my opinion, even tried to crack down on, is the precursor chemicals that are being used to manufacture fentanyl in Mexico, which is being shipped from China. And many of those companies are being supported and stood up by the CCP and encouraged to be able to do that. And so when those precursor chemicals go through the oceans, through shipping containers, they get to Mexico. Mexico often has instructions that were given to them by China and by the CCP in how to manufacture this fentanyl. The fentanyl gets manufactured inside of Mexico. Mexico ships it up through the border. 96% of the seizures of fentanyl that happen at the southern border. So all of this happens, and that's just the actual drugs. You're not talking about the human component, where thousands of Mexicans are killed, Americans are killed because of this drug trafficking that happens. And then you've got the human trafficking component, because all of these cartels also participate in human trafficking. So it's a major human rights violation. I think that the United Nations needs to be doing a lot more in regard to making sure that the Mexican government is held accountable for what they're allowing to take place inside of their country.
Okay, Taylor, just one final question here. And from what you're describing, it sounds like China and Mexico are working hand in hand in this whole situation. But, just a few days ago, China's Xi Jinping agreed to stem the export of precursor chemicals. So, I mean, do you see this as a genuine cooperation on China's part, or just posturing? What leverage does the U.S. have to force China to stop fueling cartel operations?
Well, I mean, only time will tell with what happens with our diplomatic relationships with China. China is still pretty adamant that there's a difference between Beijing and the CCP, and that, they will say that they're doing one thing. In reality, what is happening behind closed doors is very different. Only time will tell with that. I think in regards to our relationship with Mexico, we have really strong trade relationships with Mexico. They're our southern neighbor. We can't just disenfranchise and geographically separate from them. So we've got to figure out a way that we can work together and to try to combat this issue. And my opinion on all of this is, whether it's Mexico, whether it's China, whether it's any other nation, that these diplomatic relationships can be repaired, but these countries have to work with us to help fulfill what we are looking to fulfill as well, which is the safety and security of all Americans. And China and Mexico should want that for their citizens as well.
Well, okay, well said, Taylor, and I think everyone would agree that the U.S. and Mexico should work together on this. Thank you very much for speaking with us today. Federal investigators have found evidence, so-called fatigue cracks, in a key part of a UPS cargo jet that crashed earlier this month. More news after this break.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
Picture this, the heart of Manhattan, full of energy, movement, and life. Now imagine bringing that same vitality into your home with trusted health insights for your body, mind, and soul. Every week, Vital Signs dives into health issues that matter the most. The foods that strengthen your immune system, the exercises that keep you moving, the mindfulness practices that calm your mind, plus expert advice from doctors and health leaders you can trust. This isn't just another health show. It's real insight designed to keep you informed, inspired, and in motion. So whether you're starting your day with focus or winding down with balance, Vital Signs brings health and vitality straight into your living room.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back in stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
Get your home ready for the holidays with Black Friday deals at Mathis Home. They have over 100 dining sets in stock with the styles you like at incredible values. Take your pick. This cottage set has 4 storage drawers, the table, bench, and 4 side chairs, just $7.99. This marble top set comes with 4 chairs and a bench covered in a soft velvet fabric. Get all 6 pieces for just $7.99 with fast delivery absolutely free. Get the lowest prices of the year with Black Friday deals at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani is preparing for his first meeting with President Trump. Mamdani told reporters that his supporters and Trump have common ground.
New Yorkers who voted for Trump ended up voting for our campaign. And they did so because they're looking for leaders to actually deliver on the cost of living crisis. That's why everything comes back to making the case for an affordability agenda. I will meet with anyone. I will speak to everyone, so long as it could stand to benefit an economic agenda for New Yorkers.
President Trump announced that he would host the mayor-elect in the Oval Office. The meeting is set for tomorrow. This will be their first face-to-face meeting since Mamdani was elected. Ahead of the meeting, Mamdani told reporters today that he will be sharing the experience New Yorkers are having right now with the president. He said much of that centers around affordability and economic security. A Florida congresswoman is facing federal charges over what prosecutors say was a $5 million scheme involving disaster relief funds. Democratic Representative Sheila Shirphyllis McCormick and 3 others were indicted in Miami. She is accused of stealing FEMA overpayments sent to Trinity Healthcare Services in 2021 when she served as CEO. The Justice Department says the funds were tied to a FEMA-backed COVID vaccination staffing contract and were never returned after the overpayment was flagged. Officials also accused the Congresswoman of routing money through friends and family to make straw donor contributions. Prosecutors allege the group laundered the money, moved it through multiple accounts, and used a substantial portion to support her special election campaign. Attorney General Pam Bondi called the misuse of disaster funds selfish. FBI Director Kash Patel reacted, saying no one is above the law. Trephilius McCormick faces up to 53 years in prison if convicted. Her brother and 2 co-defendants also face significant penalties. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention updated the language on their website related to the link between vaccines and autism. A page on the CDC website now says the claim vaccines do not cause autism is not an evidence-based claim. It's an alteration to the previous language that stated only that vaccines do not cause autism. The new language also says that studies have not ruled out the possibility that infant vaccines cause autism, adding, quote, studies reporting a link have been ignored by health authorities. The agency said a new investigation is underway. The page still maintains the language vaccines do not cause autism, under an agreement between health officials and the chairman of the Senate Health Committee. The CDC website also says that the CDC and other U.S. health agencies pushed the earlier view that vaccines do not cause autism in order to prevent vaccine hesitancy. New Jersey could be the site of an abortion clinic specializing in third trimester abortions. The move has sparked concern among many about such late-term procedures done up to a few weeks before birth. NTD's Daniel Monahan spoke with an attorney and pregnancy care CEO about this case.
Founded by Kristen Brandy and Catherine Obando, Luminoso's Wellness Collective wants to bring third trimester abortions to Hudson County, New Jersey, starting in 2026. They say the facility will be rooted in what they call reproductive justice and also provide cross-sex procedures for trans-identifying people. Boynton Lee Gilmore of Patient Forward said the reasons for such late-term abortions can include losing a job, breaking up with a partner, or health problems with the fetus or parent. The third trimester begins at 27 weeks. The pro-life group Live Action says at 27 weeks, a baby's eyes are responding to light, and they recognize their parents' voices and can even recognize lullabies and stories. The baby's development will continue all the way until it's time for birth. Third trimester abortions are surgical techniques that involve crushing, dismemberment, and removal of a baby from a woman's uterus. A 2023 Gallup poll showed that 70% of people oppose abortion being legal in the third trimester. 55% oppose it in the second trimester.
After the Dobbs decision in 2022, the governor signed into law a law in New Jersey that really leaves it quite open for these late-term abortions.
Supreme Court litigation chief Erin Mercino says the Safe Haven Act in New Jersey allows women in a tough situation to drop off a baby at certain public locations.
Where women are able to take babies into an emergency room, no questions asked, leave at a fire station, police station after having the baby, and the baby would then be put up for adoption. And again, no questions asked.
Mercino, herself a mother of 5, says no woman has abortion as the only option.
There's choosing life, there's choosing adoption, there's choosing to raise the child yourself, there's hope, there's clinics out there, there's so many really selfless people wanting to help, wanting to give their hand and pick women up in these difficult circumstances and walk with them. No one has to be alone. There's love and hope.
Brandy Swindell is the founder and CEO of Stanton Healthcare International, whose clinics provide life-affirming medical care and wellness support to those facing unexpected pregnancies.
We also do well woman care, well woman exams, STD testing and treatment, prenatal and postnatal education and classes, wellness care, massage therapy.
All services are free of charge.
So if a woman walks through our doors and she needs assistance with housing, we're going to be able to find her safe housing. If a woman walks through our doors and she needs help getting her GED, we're going to help her with that. If she needs help finding a job, maybe even working on putting together a resume, all those types of things we can help her with.
Swindell says a large number of women are forced or pressured into an unwanted abortion, which she calls abortion abuse.
So women are being pressured by a boyfriend, a husband, the father of the baby, parents, an employer, someone they trust, usually is what women say, into getting an abortion that they really don't want to have.
Jamie says she was pressured by a partner who told her she couldn't manage a baby. She went to Planned Parenthood. After taking the abortion pill, she says she knew she'd made a terrible mistake.
I felt this life just escaping me. Like, I felt it so deeply. And I was like, I have to do something about it. Please, anybody, my family, people who love me, God, somebody, like, please get me through this. Please give me another chance to make this right.
Jamie, desperate, called her sister, who told her about Stanton Healthcare, where they do abortion pill reversal.
I filled out some paperwork and they're like, let's go check on that baby. And when I saw his heart still beating for the first time, and he was okay.
The abortion pill reversal process involves an influx of natural progesterone. After the first pill of a chemical abortion, mifepristone, is taken. NTD reached out to Luminosos Wellness Collective for comment, but they didn't respond. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Federal investigators have found evidence of so-called fatigue cracks in a key part of a UPS cargo jet that crashed earlier this month. The deadly crash killed 14 people in Louisville, Kentucky. The National Transportation Safety Board said the bulk of the left engine pylon was still attached to the left engine when it separated from the wing. The NTSB said it found evidence of fatigue cracks on the pylon, a structural component connecting the aircraft engine to the wing or fuselage. UPS and FedEx both grounded their fleets of MD-11 cargo jets this month. The Federal Aviation Administration also issued directives that temporarily grounded the MD-11 and the DC-10 aircraft due to their similar design. Investigators have said they are probing the plane's maintenance history. The 34-year-old aircraft had been in Texas for repairs weeks before the crash. Federal prosecutors have charged a Chicago man with committing a terrorist attack for allegedly setting a woman on fire on a Blue Line train. Here's more.
Investigators say 50-year-old Lawrence Reed on Monday night doused a woman with gasoline, chased her through the train, and then set her on fire. Authorities say the victim, a 26-year-old woman, remains hospitalized in critical condition with severe burns. Reed was arrested the next morning, and police said he made incriminating statements about the attack. The ATF special agent in charge said Reed has a long, violent criminal history and should not have been free at the time. Prosecutors say the federal charge carries a maximum penalty of life in prison, and if the victim dies, the case could be eligible for the death penalty.
Storms moving slowly across the south could affect parts of Texas devastated by deadly flooding in July. More than 5 inches of rain could fall in some locations today, which is enough to trigger flooding. A level 3 out of 4 risk of flooding rainfall is in place for Texas Hill Country. The rest of central and northern Texas could see localized flooding, including Dallas-Fort Worth. After drying out Friday and Saturday, a second round of rain is expected to arrive in Texas after the weekend. Airport checkpoints could soon get stricter about passenger IDs. The Transportation Security Administration has proposed a new rule that would charge airline passengers an $18 fee if they arrive at the airport without real ID or passport. Under the proposal, those travelers would have their identities verified through TSA's new biometric kiosk system before being allowed through the checkpoint. TSA says the $18 fee will help pay for the new technology. The agency says the publication of the new rule kicks off a public comment period. It's still unclear when the new system will be implemented. The Department of Homeland Security began enforcing real ID requirements for domestic flights in May after years of delays. TSA told ABC News that the fee is a next step in real ID compliance and is intended to maintain both security and efficiency at airport checkpoints. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers exposed the Chinese Communist Party's attacks on religious freedom and why it poses threat to Americans. Stay tuned.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers. He connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
On Capitol Hill today, lawmakers exposed the Chinese Communist Party's attacks on religious freedom, emphasizing why the regime's violations pose a threat to Americans. One witness urges U.S. leaders to handle it as a matter of national security. NTD's Melina Weisskopf brings us the highlights.
The CCP fears the power of faith because it is a source of values and moral authority it cannot control.
In search of global dominance, the Chinese Communist Party has sought to deprive people of their own spiritual consciousness. Witnesses at today's hearing expressed why this strikes at the heart of American values and threatens U.S. world leadership.
Their intimidation and surveillance of individuals in the U.S. is a direct assault on U.S. rule of law.
America being able to defend its value abroad also shows America's strength, and if it's not able to defend something that is so critical and so core to American values, then they see that as weakness.
While the attack on faith has been present since the CCP's inception, the severity has only worsened over time. In 2022, Chinese leader Xi Jinping escalated attempts to eradicate the meditation discipline Falun Dafa, also known as Falun Gong, with a special focus on the United States.
The Chinese Communist Party fears Falun Gong more than anybody. Much more fearful of that, as I said, than of our aircraft carriers or nuclear weapons. They fear their own people. Well, why? Well, because they are afraid of losing control. They're not acting like a confident country.
The Falun Info Center reports that the regime is attempting to change public opinion and turn U.S. institutions against Falun Dafa through carrying out nearly 200 violent threats against its adherents, not limited to Chinese diaspora. Attacks have gone so far as CCP proxies attempting to weaponize the U.S. legal system to target a U.S.-based dance company by the name of Shin Yun. It was founded by Falun Dafa practitioners to expose the persecution and to revive traditional Chinese culture. I asked the chairman of the commission as well as witnesses what's at stake if Americans don't take this threat seriously.
95% of Americans would find that offensive. Wait, you got communist Chinese intimidating American citizens over Xi Jinping wanting to shut down religion? Here, every human being has in his heart or her heart a sense of freedom, human dignity. If they want to practice religion, you hear about how many Christians are in China? I didn't know it was that big of a number. And that is something that these dictators fear.
And they oppress it, and they oppress it aggressively with billions of dollars that they spent in the most high-tech surveillance systems the world has ever seen. So if they're so scared of religion, we should be backing it. We will change China, or China will change the world. And that's the level and scale of battle we're at now.
Ambassador Brownback is urging U.S. leaders to treat this as a matter of national security and to use tools like economic sanctions to fight for spiritual freedom. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
To talk more on China's oppression of religious freedom, joining us now is international religious freedom advocate David Curry, president at David Curry and Associates. And we have Dr. Weldon Gilcrease, Deputy Director of Doctors Against Forced Organ Harvesting. So thank you both for joining us here. To set the stage, I just want to play a quick clip here from today's hearing on China's war on religion. Listen.
China fears religious freedom far more than they fear our aircraft carriers or our nuclear weapons. They're far more concerned. They spend billions of dollars annually harassing everybody up and down this line here.
You know, David, I'll start with you today. And that clip really resonated. I mean, Ambassador Brownback later went on to say that the Chinese regime is more afraid of losing control than anything else. So do you think this is the main reason for its war on religion?
Absolutely. He's absolutely right. Ambassador Brownback is correct, because the Communist Party fears anything which challenges its preeminence in the hearts and minds of its people. And of course, they have desires to have larger territory, to try to control the world with their ideology. Their ideology is preeminent in their mind. So 100 million Christians in China are oppressed for their faith, not because they're bad citizens, but because their ideology is that the communists are not the most important thing in their world, but their faith is. And you could go right down the list. They persecute Muslims, Uyghur Muslims, others, as well as you heard in this report. So they are threatened by any ideology that challenges them, or any personality. You remember Jack Ma and some of these entrepreneurs who got too big, they'll get cut off at the knees. So it's a challenge around ideology and preeminence in China.
Okay, so Weldon, let me go to you now. Your reaction to the clip and what David said. Why is it that it looks like the CCP and religion cannot coexist?
Yeah, I mean, at its core, at its roots, communism is based on an atheistic ideology that uses control, uses fear and intimidation to carry out its control. So, for me, it was very telling. I think Ambassador Brownback's comments that they fear religious freedom and those that exert religious freedom within their own country. The Chinese Communist Party fears them more than they fear nuclear weapons, that they fear weapons. I mean, this is what Mao referred to as the paper tiger in the 1940s, was weapons. But I think what we're seeing now is ironically to me, it is a paper tiger. You have a country and Xi Jinping and a system, an evil system with the Chinese Communist Party that is a paper tiger. They're weak. They've lost control. And I think one of the reasons that religious freedom poses such a threat is because they can tell the real story of what the Chinese Communist Party is. And the Chinese Communist Party is not the Chinese people, it's not the traditions of China, it's not the culture of China, it's not the religions of China. And I think that poses a huge threat because it exposes them for what they really are.
And Weldon, I think you touched on something really important here. And what you said was echoed in that hearing. And I just have a clip here from that hearing, and I want to play it right now.
The CCP is no longer satisfied with just controlling churches and mosques. It now seeks to control the entire inner life of its citizens. Its goal is nothing less than to eliminate all independent faith and replace it with the absolute loyalty to the CCP and Xi Jinping's thoughts.
So Weldon, what is it about the CCP's ideology or its rule or anything else that has made it able to carry out atrocities against religious believers for so many decades now?
Well, I think one thing, you have a completely opaque system. I mean, take what my interest is, which is forced organ harvesting. I mean, killing innocent prisoners of conscience, primarily Falun Gong practitioners throughout China, but also Uyghurs, probably Tibetans, Christians, a lot of those that were represented in the meeting or the hearing today. Why are they such a threat, and why has the Chinese Communist Party gone after them, but really stayed kind of under the radar? Well, I think one thing is, after Deng Xiaoping opened to the West and opened the economy to the West, it remains an opaque system. And Americans traditionally, the last few decades, have taken the policy that we should engage with the Chinese Communist Party, whether that's financially, government, the World Trade Organization, or our medical systems. This thought of engagement to build them up economically and give them legitimacy has actually backfired. I mean, we've seen this the last really 10 years. This has come to light that this policy of engagement with an evil system has largely backfired. And I think that engagement is what allowed a lot of these crimes to go under the radar, whether it's the 1989 massacre of pro-democracy students in Tiananmen Square, whether it's the persecution of Falun Gong, whether it's Tibet. A lot of these have gone under the radar because I think the American people and the American government and American institutions have tried to, in good faith, believe that these would stop if the Chinese Communist Party had some kind of legitimacy, but it's only further exacerbated the horrific human rights abuses that they've carried out.
Okay, so David, your thought.
Can I add to that? Dr. Gilcrease is absolutely right, but here's the other X factor, and that is there's never in history been a government that has control of all the information pieces the way they do in China. They can control the internet. They can monitor what you see. They can see where you go, and they track you with facial recognition like has never been seen before. So they can literally put people under house arrest or contain them in ways that has not been possible before on a mass level. So you add that with the points, excellent points that were just made, and I think you have a really toxic mix. So much so to the point that that we know more about what's happening in China than the Chinese themselves do. So it's very difficult for them to gather some kind of momentum to respond when they don't know themselves. Even though they're closest to the problem, they know least about it.
So David, do you think at all the general public is becoming more aware of the brutality and danger the CCP poses to the rest of the world?
I think you have seen a more bipartisan response to this than we saw, let's say, 10 years ago. I think Democrats and Republicans both recognize there's something sinister about this that wasn't maybe seen widely before. I think what is unclear is how they're going to respond, because to really respond properly, we're going to have to make an effort to make sure through breaking through the great firewall of China, making sure the Chinese have information to literally just the facts of what's happening so they can make up their own minds. We're going to have to make sure that we are clear about China's role in the UN and other international bodies where they are setting some of the internet rules and the AI rules and all of these kind of things. So they've been very strategic about infiltrating these world bodies to try to make sure that nobody has the ability to censure them or to change their philosophy, even though they're trying to change everyone else's. So hard to know if we'll have the will to respond properly, but I think we must.
Yeah, I think on the point of AI, there's a lot of concerns that within China, as the technology becomes more and more advanced, that the CCP could use it to further repress the Chinese people. So I have another clip here to play for you guys before I ask you the next question.
The Chinese Communist Party fears Falun Gong more than anybody. And I've puzzled at that for the longest time. Why? But it's the most indigenous of all of them. It's like sowing wheat on the Kansas soil. It just grows. They got to 90 million adherents in 7 years. Well, that scares the pants off of the Chinese Communist Party. So we should really be working with them.
So Walden, this next question goes to you because your organization has detailed how the Chinese regime forcibly harvests organs from living Falun Gong practitioners as an execution method. Is there some action the American government can take to stop this shocking crime?
Well, we're trying, we have 2 pieces of legislation that are currently in the Senate waiting to be voted on against forced organ harvesting within China. I think this ties back to the whole purpose of this roundtable discussion, which is how are we involved as the United States? How are we involved as U.S. doctors, U.S. medical institutions, U.S. Healthcare systems? And that is that we have largely built up the transplant system within China beginning in the early 2000s after its crackdown on Falun Gong to really be weaponized as a tool of the Chinese regime to kill Falun Gong practitioners, now to kill Uyghurs probably in the last 8 years, and to also profit off of that. So I think this is why the Falun Gong story remains so essential to understand. The basic tenets of Falun Gong, of truth and compassion and tolerance. And also a lot of the teachings, as Ambassador Brownback was alluding to, are really rooted in traditional Chinese culture, the 5,000 years of culture, not the 76 years of Chinese Communist Party regime, which is largely a foreign ideology that has infiltrated almost like a cancer within the Chinese within Chinese society, within the minds of the Chinese. So I do think the Ambassador Brownback really pointing out the importance of Falun Gong as part of the story and how big of a threat they are is because nobody survives forced organ harvesting, but those that have survived to tell their stories, Falun Gong practitioners that have been tortured and dehumanized and humiliated by the Chinese Communist Party, they really, again, get at what the Chinese Communist Party really is better than just about any other group can.
Okay, David, any reactions you have so far?
Well, I think he makes a good point. The Falun Gong, it's an ancient Eastern spirituality which China sees as a grave threat, even though they're very peaceful. There's no chance that it's a political movement, although they certainly have sort of made it a political enemy, you might say. The Chinese Communist Party does not like any ideology which challenges its preeminence. And even though there are only a handful of 5 million Muslims, like Uyghur Muslims, they've been attacking them. The Falun Gong, they're attacking them, even though they're very peaceful. You have 100 million Christians, as I said. It's a massive country with a lot of people, but anything which challenges their ideology is going to come under attack.
Okay, well then we got to wrap up now. So if you have any final thoughts real quick you'd like to share right now.
Yeah, I guess my final thoughts are understand who the victims are. I think if you understand who the victims are, you understand what the Chinese Communist Party is. And my last few comments was understand forced organ harvesting, because I really do think it tells you about the character or lack thereof of the Chinese Communist Party and its leaders. And again, understand if you understand the story of the Chinese regime's crackdown on religious freedom, I think you really do understand the spirit and really the evil of the Chinese Communist Party.
Well, okay, well done, David. Such an important conversation today. Thank you for having it with us.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
The U.S. is greenlighting 2 arms sales to Taiwan in a single week, despite China's warnings. The 2 deals total $1 billion. The latest sale to Taiwan, confirmed Monday, is valued at $700 million and includes advanced missile systems. NTD's Tiffany Meyer has more.
The sales also follow weeks after Trump's trade talks with Chinese leader Xi as the two sides continue negotiating a rare earth minerals deal. Beijing has condemned the previous arms sale, saying Taiwan is the first red line that must not be crossed in U.S.-China relations. 5 days after China's protests, the Trump administration approved the second sale. The advanced missile system would strengthen Taiwan's air defense capabilities. Ukraine has deployed the same weapons to defend against Russia's invasion. These weapons are expected to be completed by 2031. So far in the Indo-Pacific, the U.S. has only sold the advanced missile system to Australia and Indonesia. Taiwan is preparing its citizens for a potential Chinese invasion, spending millions of civil defense handbooks to households across the island this week. The de facto U.S. ambassador to Taiwan says America's commitment is rock solid, emphasizing support for Taiwan to achieve peace through strength. The Chinese Communist Party sees Taiwan as part of China and has pledged to take it by force if necessary. Under U.S. law, America is required to sell weapons to Taiwan so it can defend itself.
For more exclusive China news and in-depth analysis, tune in to China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on NTD. A federal judge temporarily blocked the Trump administration from ending protected status for more than 6,000 Syrians in the U.S. The Syrians are in the U.S. under the Temporary Protected Status Program. It allows foreign nationals to work in the U.S. if their country is in the midst of war or natural disaster. Syria's civil war ended last year. The Trump administration said Syria was a hotbed of terrorism and extremism, and that the U.S. has no way to vet Syrians coming into the U.S. because there is no U.S. diplomatic mission in Syria. The judge agreed with 7 Syrian migrants who sought to block the protection's removal, saying the abrupt removal was likely illegal. She said the government was not giving consideration to each migrant's case in this and other instances. The leader of the Venezuelan regime, Nicolas Maduro, has offered to step down as U.S. pressure mounts on the deadliest dictatorship in Latin America. We have more news after this break.
Come to Mathis Home today and save with Black Friday deals all over the store. They have the largest selection of bedrooms in the styles you like at the prices you'll love. This metal bed with a matte black finish is a classic with a modern flair. Black Friday priced at just $2.99. Check out this upholstered bed covered in an ultra plush fabric. It's a hot buy at just $2.99. They're all in stock now, so you can get fast delivery absolutely free. For style and value, shop the Black Friday deals at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
In 4 days. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children. She didn't know what to do. Did you have a good day at school? She gave them some broth. Without any bread. There you go. And kiss them all soundly. Night night. Good night. And put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
What are toxins? How do they get into our bodies? We are constantly being exposed to toxins in our environment. I've had detox protocol programs in my clinic more than 20 years helping countless people. MixFix is a custom formulated, full-spectrum organic detox product to achieve better health and overall function. Detoxifying your body 3 to 4 times per year may be the single most important thing you can do. Just scan the QR code and detox your body today.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings. Regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, get